And on this video, I'll be reviewing the Shadow D2 meter, which is an OBD2 gauge that promises to be able to install in minutes and add up to 8 different parameters for us to be able to monitor our car. But this little OBD2 gauge can do a lot more than that. Let me show you how it works. And as always, I'd like to remind you that I have placed a link in the description down below to the D2 meter in case you want to get one for yourself. And here's the Shadow D2 meter 2, and it's currently displaying RPMs. You can see how if I rev the engine, we can see those RPMs go up. And there are 2 hidden buttons on the D2 meter, one on the top and one on the bottom. Pressing the one on the top will cycle to the different things that we can display on this gauge, and they're gonna vary depending on whether your car supports a particular parameter or not, but you can see that all of them are live values and should come in very handy if you're trying to monitor your car while driving. Also, you can combine values by pushing on the bottom button, and now you can display 2 potential parameters such as RPMs and in this case the temperature, and you can customize which are the 2 that you want to monitor at the same time, or you can go back to single parameter mode. But we can further customize the D2 meter by holding the top button, and it's gonna take us to the settings menu. And here's where we can select whether we want this gauge to alert us when we get to a particular parameter, perhaps a certain level of boost, a certain level of voltage, water temperature, or some other parameter that we're trying to monitor, and we want this gauge to tell us that we got to that particular parameter. And we can go inside of here and tell it when you should alert us. But I do want to show you what that alarm looks like. I have set it so it lets me know when I hit 2000 RPMs, and you can hear a beep and you can see how the color changes. We also have the ability to customize the color that this backlit unit uses in order to match our vehicle, and you can see that there are several choices to choose from. We got that orange, we got this green, we got this deep blue, a light blue, purple, or my favorite ones, the RGB mode where it constantly cycles through those colors, and the ARGB mode, again cycling, doing a little light show. And the next option is to change the brightness. We can lower the brightness if we wanted to of that backlit function or turn it off entirely. I like to leave mine on max. And if for some reason we mounted this gauge upside down, we can correct for that by flipping the image with the hand side option. We can also change the display unit between bar and PSI, between degree and Fahrenheit, and between kilometers an hour versus miles per hour. And we also have the ability to enter our mileage and for this gauge to keep track of it. And we can also select where we want the information to be pulled from, such as AFR, which is air to fuel ratio, and which is the sensor that we want to use for that information. And we can select the same thing for the other sensors as well, such as the gearbox sensor and the oil temperature sensor, and which is the boost sensor that we're interested in monitoring. And the ACC option allows us to control how this unit turns off. Either we can have it set to automatic or manual, where we get the choice of selecting what voltage point should the gauge turn off. We can also restore these units to its default settings, or we can look at what current version of software we're currently running on this. What's also interesting is that we can tell the gauge what type of vehicle we're driving by going into this menu. We have Volkswagen, Toyota, Suzuki, Nissan, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Honda, Ford, BMW, Benz, Audi, or we can leave it in universal. And if for some reason we had a check engine light, we can clear it by going into the clear check engine light mode. And now let's talk about installation of the Shadow D2 meter. And because it uses double-sided tape, it can be placed literally anywhere on the dash. Because it's relatively small, I can peel the tape back and then stick it to the location. Now also what's interesting is that I have mounted it flat against the dash, but Shadow says that it could potentially also be mounted on vertical surfaces. Then all I have to do is plug the gauge into my OBD2 port, and once that is connected, the gauge is pretty much good to go. So who do I think the D2 meter is for? I think this is gonna be a perfect solution for any car enthusiast that's looking to add additional performance gauges to their vehicle without installing some big obnoxious gauge on the dash or having to drill into the car to mount something permanently. The fact that this installs in a way that is fully reversible, and because of its size, it blends in with the interior, especially on modern new vehicles. Having the ability to adjust the color of the gauge we can make it match to the interior of the vehicle, which I think is great. And that's one thing that I really like about this Gage, how it was designed and constructed, where the center portion is semi-clear, but it is surrounded by that nice aluminum frame and hidden button design. I think that's a very, very clever way of designing a minimalistic Gage that can blend in with the interior of most vehicles. For where can the D2 meter improve? And I'm gonna say that is in adding the logos of popular car brands like Toyota, Honda, Audi. How cool would it be to see when the Gage starts up the logo of your vehicle? So I think Shadow could potentially add that fairly easy over an update, and I think it will make a great addition to be able to customize this Gage a little further. So remember guys, I put a link in the description down below to the Gage in case you want to get one for yourself. And if you guys have any other questions regarding this product, please also put that in the comments down below. And stay tuned as I have a lot more cool car gadgets coming up. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.